Wagner Group is a private military company based in Russia. It is named after its founder, Dmitry Utkin, who goes by the codename Wagner. The group has conducted various military operations around the world and acquired notoriety for committing war crimes, inciting violence, and instigating turmoil. Wagner Group recruits mercenaries mostly from former Russian military and special forces personnel, offering them lucrative contracts to participate in operations abroad. The group's activities have been documented in conflicts such as the Syrian civil war, where Wagner mercenaries have fought alongside pro-Assad forces. They have also been involved in the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, supporting separatist groups in the eastern part of the country. Wagner mercenaries have participated in military operations in many other countries such as Libya, Mali, Sudan, and Venezuela. In January 2023, the United States sanctioned individuals and entities linked to Wagner Group and its head Yevgeny Prigozhin in an attempt to weaken Russia's military campaign in Ukraine. The U.S. Department of State explained some criminal acts of the Wagner Group in the same statement. The Wagner Group's pattern of serious criminal behavior includes violent harassment of journalists, aid workers, and members of minority groups and harassment, obstruction, and intimidation of UN peacekeepers in the Central African Republic, as well as rape and killings in Mali. In May 2023, the U.S. Department of the Treasury used similar words to describe the Wagner Group's criminal records. The Wagner Group has meddled in and destabilized countries in Africa, committing widespread human rights abuses and appropriating natural resources. Wagner Group operates as a private military company and is not officially recognized or endorsed by the Russian government. Although Russian armies supplied heavy weapons and ammunition to the Wagner mercenaries, Russia officially considers the Wagner Group as non-existent. President of Russia Vladimir Putin has said in one of his recent interviews that Wagner Private Military Company does not exist. "We do not have a law for private military organizations. It simply does not exist." What Putin has said is legally correct. According to Article 359 of Russia's Criminal Code, any kind of mercenary activity is strictly forbidden in Russia. But practically, Putin refuted his own statement with his previous speech over Russian government's support for Wagner Group. In his speech on June 27, Putin admitted that the maintenance of the entire Wagner Group was fully provided for by the Russian state, with the government allocating more than 86 billion rubles, or around $1 billion, between May 2022 and May 2023.
Полностью обеспечилось государством. Из Министерства обороны, из государственного бюджета мы полностью финансировали эту группу. С мая 2022 года по май 2023 на денежное содержание и стимулирующие выплаты государство заплатило компании «Вагнер» 86 миллиардов 262 миллиона рублей.
When Russian government didn't want to be directly involved in regional military conflicts, Wagner mercenaries were being sent. In February 2014, Wagner mercenaries went to Crimea in their first active mission during Russia's 2014 annexation of the peninsula. Right after the annexation of Crimea, Wagner mercenaries fought in the Donbass region of eastern Ukraine alongside pro-Russian forces against Ukrainian government. From 2015 onward, Wagner units took part in Syrian civil war, supporting the Syrian army against the opposition groups and Islamic State. Wagner Group's operations may not be limited to military activities. The group's chief Yevgeny Prigozhin is also known as the founder and manager of the so-called Russian Troll Factory, Internet Research Agency, which is in St. Petersburg. According to some reports, the troll agency was involved in meddling in the 2016 U.S. elections.
Close by reiterating the central allegation of our indictments that there were multiple, systematic efforts to interfere in our election.
In the Mueller report, it stated that Internet Research Agency conducted social media operations to manipulate 2016 U.S. presidential elections. The agency supported the election campaign of Donald Trump and attempted to discredit Hillary Clinton. The report concluded that Russia interfered in 2016 U.S. presidential election through operations of Internet Research Agency, which was funded by Wagner leader Prigozhin. Prigozhin has never denied that he was the head of the Internet Research Agency. "I've never just been the financier of the Internet Research Agency. I invented it, I created it, I managed it for a long time. It was founded to protect the Russian information space from boorish aggressive propaganda of anti-Russian narrative from the West." The founder of the Wagner Group, Dmitry Utkin, served as a special forces officer in the Russian Foreign Military Intelligence Agency GRU. After ending his military career as lieutenant colonel in Spetsnaz Special Forces, Utkin joined private military company Mayan Security Group in 2013. Later, he worked for another Russian private military company, Slavonic Corps, which was founded by Wagner Group. Utkin was deployed in several missions abroad, including Syria. After working as a military contractor abroad, he returned Russia and founded the Wagner Group, which was named after his call sign. Utkin was known as an admirer of Nazism and German composer Richard Wagner. He has several Nazi tattoos. Russian oligarch Yevgeny Prigozhin was one of Putin's close circle of friends and sometimes called Putin's chef, as he owns catering companies that provide services for the Kremlin and Putin's special meetings with other leaders. But he preferred a nickname of Putin's butcher. His father and stepfather were Jewish. He claimed he founded the Wagner Group and led the Wagner Mercenaries operate in many regions from Syria to Ukraine. In 1981, he was sentenced to 12 years imprisonment in a high-security penal colony for robbery, theft, fraud, and involving minors in criminal activity. He started to read intensely in solitary confinement until 1985. However, the higher court later reduced his sentence to 10 years on good behavior, and he was released in 1990. After his release from prison in 1990, he started selling hot dogs in Leningrad. For the next 10 years, he rapidly expanded his entrepreneurial skills and business network to be a successful entrepreneur in St. Petersburg. He became the stakeholder and manager of Contrast store chain, which was the first grocery store chain in St. Petersburg. In 1993, he visited the U.S. to make business negotiations for fast food store franchise, which later let him open more than 100 hot dog kiosks in Russia. When Putin eventually ascended to the position of president of the Russian Federation, Prigozhin had consolidated his business ventures under Concord Management and Consulting and started catering services for Putin. From then on, he started winning lucrative government contracts and amassing big wealth. As of 2013, his image of Putin's chef started to transform into Putin's butcher as he actively took over management of the Wagner Mercenary Group and Russian Troll Army Internet Research Agency. Weaponry. The Wagner Group mercenaries have used a wide range of rifles. The specific rifles used by mercenaries could vary depending on the context and the mission they are undertaking. In Wagner's inventory, Kalashnikov's AK rifles are the most common one. Wagner troops often use AK-74, which is the modernized version of the iconic Kalashnikov AK-47 rifle. This rifle was first used by Soviet forces in the Afghanistan War as of 1979. Wagner mercenaries also use the fifth generation of Kalashnikov rifles, AK-12, with GP-25 and GP-34 grenade launchers attached. Additionally, mercenaries have suppressed assault rifles AS-Val and VSS Venturas in their inventories, which are known for their quiet operation and subsonic ammunition. Wagner snipers were equipped with SVD Dragunov and modernized version SVDM. Wagner's operations. Russia was involved in proxy wars in Syria, Libya, and Mali with full deniability by using Wagner troops. Russia deployed its military forces and air power to Syria in 2015, helping President Bashar Assad to suppress rebels. Wagner has since been involved in combat missions and security for oil installations in Syria, with the first suspected Wagner deaths there reported as early as 2015. The Wagner Group has been tasked with securing and protecting strategic assets critical to the Syrian government's interests, such as oil and gas facilities. Wagner Group mercenaries have reportedly conducted covert and clandestine operations, including reconnaissance, intelligence gathering, and targeted assassinations against perceived enemies of the Syrian regime. Compared to its operations in Africa, where Wagner's operations are larger scale and not dependent on the Russian military, its role in Syria's war went little noticed at first, as Russian air power turned the tide of the conflict. Details of its presence emerged in 2018 when hundreds of Wagner fighters were killed in a confrontation with U.S. forces near the Syrian city of Deir al-Zor. Wagner Group mercenaries have also been involved in the Libyan internal conflict. They have been accused of supporting General Khalifa Haftar's forces in their fight against the UN-recognized government of National Accord. In both Libya and Syria, Wagner Group fighters have been accused of torture, indiscriminate killing, and other war crimes. In 2018, the Wagner Group deployed its personnel to the Central African Republic to protect lucrative mines, support the government, train the army, and provide close protection for the President Faustin Archange Touadera in return for extraction of natural resources such as gold, diamonds, and other precious metals. The Wagner Group's next stop was Mali. They arrived in Mali in December 2021 during the political turmoil to assist the security forces against the insurgents and to mine minerals and natural resources. According to Human Rights Watch's report, Malian soldiers and Russian PMCs executed around 300 civilians during a military operation in Mora. Wagner's deployment and military buildup in Mali can be seen in the satellite images. The U.S. Department of the Treasury imposed sanctions on some Malian officials to work closely with the Wagner Group to facilitate and expand Wagner's presence in Mali. According to the U.S. Department of the Treasury, Wagner Group personnel have engaged in an ongoing pattern of serious criminal activity, including mass executions, rape, child abductions, and other brutalities in the Central African Republic and Mali. According to the New York Times, Prigozhin-linked companies such as Labai Invest, Midas Resources, and Diamville secured contracts to operate gold and mining sites in the Central African Republic, while Russian mercenaries provide security services to mines and political leaders. The U.S. Department of the Treasury sanctioned Midas and Diamville due to illicit gold dealings to fund the Wagner Group. Treasury explained that the Wagner Group funds its brutal operations in part by exploiting natural resources in countries like the Central African Republic and Mali. The Wagner mercenaries took active part in annexation of Crimea and Donbass regions of Ukraine and following invasion of Ukraine. Wagner Group's contractors attempted to assassinate Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, but they have failed. As of July 2023, Wagner Group started to send inmates from Russian prisons to southern and eastern front lines in Ukraine.
А это слышите, ЧВК Вагнер называется. Война тяжелая. На всякие там чеченские и так далее близко не похоже. Расход боеприпасов у меня приблизительно в 2,5 раза больше, чем в Сталинграде. Первый грех – это дезертирство. Никто не дает заднюю. Никто не отступает, никто не сдается в плен. Когда вы будете обучаться, при сдаче в плен вам расскажут 2 гранаты, которые вы должны иметь с собой. Второй грех – это алкоголь, наркотики. Время на принятие решения 5 минут. Когда мы уезжаем, время заканчивается.
The inmates were offered 100,000 or 200,000 rubles and amnesty for 6 months of voluntary service.
Много не бухай, наркотики не употребляй, баб не насилуй, да? Не бедокурим. Милиция к вам должна относиться с уважением.
Wagner Group mercenaries have fought alongside separatist forces in eastern Ukraine and trained the separatist militias and former inmates in the Donbass. During the Battle of Bakhmut, Wagner Group suffered heavy casualties, and this escalated the ongoing conflicts between the Wagner Group leader and Kremlin. Many times Prigozhin openly insulted Putin's most senior military men, Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu and Chief of the General Staff Valery Gerasimov, and blamed them for not sending ammunition to Wagner mercenaries and failing in many front lines.
Слушайте меня, блядь! Это чьи-то, блядь, отцы! И чьи-то сыновья! И те, которые не дают нам боеприпасы, будут в аду! Жрать их потроха, блядь! У нас нехватка боеприпасов! 70%! Шойгу! Герасимов! Где боеприпасы?
His insults to high-profile Russian ministers and generals signaled the growing opposition among Wagner Group to the Russian Authority and an implicit criticism of Putin.
Минобороны, оно тщательно обманывает президента
и президент получает те доклады, которые никак не соответствуют действительности. Формируются две повестки. Одна на земле, другая на столе у президента. И поэтому мы целыми днями слушаем про 60 уничтоженных леопардов, про 3000 уничтоженных солдат противника. Министерство обороны пытается обмануть общественность, пытается обмануть президента.
Wagner's mutiny. On June 23rd, Prigozhin and Wagner Mercenary Army started the mutiny, accusing the Russian military of launching a missile strike on a Wagner camp in Russian-occupied East Ukraine. On June 24th, Wagner forces seized the southern city of Rostov, took control of the military base, and began an armed advance toward Moscow. Putin condemned the mutiny, labeling it as a stab in the back of country and people, and threatened the insurgents.
И нашу государственность от любых угроз, в том числе от внутреннего предательства. А то, с чем мы столкнулись, это именно предательство. Это удар по России, по нашему народу. И наши действия по защите Отечества от такой угрозы будут жесткими.
Amid non-stop negotiations between the Wagner leader and Kremlin, all of a sudden the president of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, announced an agreement made with Prigozhin, which marks the end of the advance of Wagner troops.
Решение, оно и прозвучало под текстом выступления Путина – мочить. Я предложил Путину не торопиться. Давай, говорю, поговорим с Пригожиным, с командирами его.
Later on, Prigozhin published an audio message saying his forces had come within 125 miles of Moscow and were turning around to head back to their training camps. As a part of the deal, Russia would not prosecute the insurgents and Wagner mercenaries would either withdraw to Belarus or join Russia's regular army.
Начали. Из-за несправедливости по дороге на земле мы не убили ни одного солдата. За сутки не дошли всего 200 километров до Москвы, зашли и полностью взяли под контроль город Ростов. У нас не было цели свержения существующего режима.
Before and during the mutiny, Prigozhin neither threatened Putin directly nor the Russian state. But many analysts believe that Prigozhin ended the mutiny prematurely as he didn't get enough support among the army. Under the deal, Wagner fighters have been told that they can either sign regular army contracts or go home or head to Belarus. Putin seemed to forgive those who were responsible for the mutiny for the time being and didn't attempt to eradicate the Wagner Group. Even Russia's Federal Security Service FSB announced it has dropped the case against Wagner since its participants stopped their actions. For some time after the mutiny, the Wagner leader Prigozhin's whereabouts was a mystery. Some believed he went to Belarus into exile, others believed he was hiding in somewhere Russia. President Lukashenko denied his earlier remarks that the Wagner leader arrived Minsk. He claimed Prigozhin could be in Moscow or St. Petersburg. Just when it turned out Prigozhin was in Russia, not Belarus, Russian state media released images from a police raid on Prigozhin's office and residence in St. Petersburg. The footage showed stash of gold, money, wigs, weapons, and several passports. The footages of raids signaled that Prigozhin was now an enemy of the state on the run. However, soon after that, Prigozhin posted a video from Africa.
Работаем. Температура плюс 50. Все как мы любим. ЧВК «Вагнер» проводит РПД. Делает Россию еще более великой на всех континентах. А Африку еще более свободной. Справедливость и счастье для африканских народов.
In one of his last videos, he was saying everything was okay for him despite the circulating rumors about his life.
Жив я или нет, как у меня дела, сейчас выходные, вторая половина августа 23-го года, нахожусь в Африке, поэтому любители обсуждения моей ликвидации, интимной жизни, заработков там или еще чего-нибудь, собственно говоря, все в порядке.
On August 23rd, at 6:19 p.m. local time, an Embraer jet traveling from Moscow to St. Petersburg crashed in north of the capital, killing Prigozhin and 9 other people on board, including Dmitry Utkin. According to Flight Radar 24 website, the plane reached a cruising altitude of 28,000 feet at 6:11 p.m. Moscow time. At 6:19 p.m. local time, it made erratic climbs and descents and suddenly fell 8,000 feet in about 30 seconds and crashed. According to the photos and videos, debris from the plane scattered in 4 locations across a roughly 2-mile radius just outside the village of Kuzenkino in Russia's Tver region. Experts believe that the multiple debris fields in a large area indicate a forceful explosion of the plane midair. However, the cause of crash is still unknown. According to experts, explosive device on the plane, a missile or mid-air collision are most likely causes of the crash, but there is a very high probability of the explosion. The Brazilian Embraer Legacy 600 model that crashed only recorded 1 accident in over 2 decades of service, and it was not a result of mechanical failure. Neither Kremlin nor the Defense Ministry made an immediate statement right after the crash. Couple of days after the crash, Prigozhin's and Utkin's bodies were identified and their death was officially confirmed. Putin finally expressed his condolences to the families of all those who have died and said the Wagner leader Prigozhin was a talented man with a complicated life who made serious mistakes in life. But there are still some scenarios circulating about the plane crash and Prigozhin's fate. Was he assassinated or was he just victim of an accident? Who assassinated him? Did FSB, Russian Defense Ministry, rival private military groups, or foreign intelligence agencies sabotage his plane? There is another possibility that Prigozhin might not be on the crashed plane. In that case, did he know about the assassination attempt or did he make a mutual agreement with Putin to hide in some remote place? For political analyst Valery Solovey, this is the case. Prigozhin wasn't on the plane and now he is hiding in Venezuela. Soloev claims Prigozhin is alive and hiding in Margarita Island of Venezuela.
Евгения Пригожина предупредили о том, что самолет будет атакован, и его в самолете не было. Поэтому не верьте сообщениям о том, что якобы опознано тело Пригожина. Ничего подобного даже близко нет. Где сейчас Пригожин? Пригожин сейчас находится за пределами Российской Федерации. Он на свободе, жив-здоров. Он находится не в Африке.
It is a slim chance that such an important person's private plane crashes for mechanical reasons or pilot's error. It is also hard to believe that all founders of Wagner Group were traveling on the same plane. It is not likely that there will be a transparent air crash investigation for this case. If Prigozhin died on that plane, Wagner will surely be restructured and led by a more trusted leader. If, on the other hand, Prigozhin is still alive, he will probably wait for the best political time to reappear. Until that time, he'll likely to be a ghost. Thanks for watching. Please like the video and subscribe our channel. More videos will come.